right. Shalom Facebook, Shalom YouTube. It's been a long time coming. NHIT, the Nazarene Hebrew Institute of Technology. Just a second, please. I'm having an echo already. 1 second. All right. This is NHIT. We have a special guest. Please forgive me for the technical difficulties. Nazarene Hebrew Institute of Technology presents a special guest, Ron Dalton, Hebrew the Negroes author, book author, film director. And for those who don't know who he is, the controversial tweet that my family members that are fans of Kyrie Irving that tweeted his book, and it went viral, and he got a lot of pushback from that. This is the man who put out the historical information of who we are and our identity, language, and culture. So I will introduce Brother Ron Dalton just to briefly tell us about himself, and I'll go into the introducing Ron Dalton Jr.
As the title of my profile says, I'm the creator, founder of the book Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, and the movies under the same title. They're on Amazon. It's also on h2ntv.com and the Negro Network. And been doing this for a while, since like 2014. I published the first book, but it was circulating in America for a while, and overseas would have got a lot of notoriety when Kyrie, the basketball player, Irving, promoted it and posted it on his Instagram and Twitter, and that kind of set a lot of things off in American mainstream media and even hitting the world media. So, I'm just a single Israelite, not affiliated with any camps, just out here teaching and putting out literary and media work in regards to who we are and the prophecies, and who a lot of the other nations are, and how it all ties in to reality in the current times we're living in right now.
All praises for that. So I'm going to get right into one of the elephant in the room is the Promised Land. Ron, real quick, can you give us some dates on the upcoming debate of when you'll be debating this presentation that you are presenting about the Promised Land?
Yeah, so the first debate is October the 6th, okay. Sunday at 2:30 USA Eastern Standard Time. Me versus Deacon Haka. He was formerly known as Deacon Sakari, and that's going to be a structured debate. He didn't want to do a long debate, so he wanted initially he wanted 3 15-minute rounds of just uninterrupted teaching. And then I said, no, we should do at least 15, 20, and 25. Because I told him, I said, an hour is nothing. I mean, I can get through, I can talk about, the animals of Israel in an hour. So that's the way that he wanted it, 3 15-minute, or 3, 15, 25, 15, 20, 25 rounds. And then a round for questions that I asked him, and then he asked me questions, and I think there's a last segment of the debate, and then that's it. The other guy I'm debating is Rabbi Hoshua Amariel out in Israel, and that's November the 10th, and he's been out there for like 50 years with the Demona crew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he believes that the land of Israel is the land of Israel, but he believes that the land of Jerusalem is in Tel Arad in the south, in the desert, and that's the true location of Mount Zion, and also Jerusalem. And so my stance is that no, he's incorrect, and that the true promised land is in the land is in sub-Saharan Africa, and that's the debate on November the 10th. That's at 12 o'clock USA Eastern Standard Time. Uh,
Okay.
as long as he's going to be there, hopefully he won't have any issues because in Israel they're fighting, they're dropping bombs, and
Yeah.
hopefully doesn't affect where he's at for the debate to happen.
These platforms, what platform is the first one going to be on with the deacon?
It's all going to be on initially Zoom, because YouTube banned me for
Right.
since 2022, and I don't like giving YouTube a lot of my business because they had me off of the platform for like 3 years, and I just had a guy in Africa help me create another channel on his end. So
Mm.
anybody can create a channel on their end. It's just that when I try to create a channel, I think it's linked to my IP address or my email or
Right.
my phone number. They don't allow me to do it. So initially it's going to be on Zoom.
Okay.
Uh, People are going to have to pay to see it or
Right.
to be in the building, and then after that I'll put the replay on H2M TV, and then from there, Deacon Hakai, we'll talk about when if any time after that he'll agree to put it on YouTube, hopefully unedited. I mean, hopefully he's not going to tamper with the uh, with the footage.
Right. Right. All right. So we got the dates for that. I wanted to touch bases with you because I've been watching H2N Volume 1. And you had spoke about the Batiki people in Congo, right? And I wanted the first question, and then you can add on to because I'm hoping it's the same people because I read a book on the Tiki people called The Vocabulary of the Katiki people, which is dealing with the African languages and study in Congo. So I wanted to know if those were the same particular people because I know the Batiki people has various different names, Tiki or Tayo or something like that. Are you familiar with that? Those similar names?
Yeah, the most common names, but Bateke,
Mm-hmm.
and they go by other names, and they have sub clans in Cameroon, in Gabon, and the Congo, but initially they were all part of the families that lived in the Kingdom of the Congo,
Okay.
hundreds of years ago. So that's who the Teke people are.
Okay. Got you. My second, because I'm gonna have a few questions. Then my brother is, and then we're gonna see if who else has some. The other one was you had mentioned in Tanzania, and you mentioned Joshua 10:5-11, and you were speaking about the mountains um, in Tanzania and Kenya. What I wanted to ask because okay, so Israel itself, do you believe any of that area was part of the promised land?
No, I think that the modern day Israel was the homeland of or the central base of the Neanderthal cave dwelling man, and his his DNA and his civilization existed there for thousands of years, even to the time that Homo sapiens arrived on the scene and started living with him in the caves and outside of the caves. So, in a lot of the archaeological studies they've done in Israel, going back to the Paleolithic, the Neolithic, the Chalcolithic, which is the Copper Age, the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age, leading into the times of the Bible, you'll see that in Israel, in the northern and southern part of Israel, they have all these caves, and
Mm-hmm.
inside these caves, they got tons of Neanderthal skeletons, and they noticed that within these caves, they also noted that there were hybrid skeletons that had features on the skull, like on the eyebrows, you know, and on the jaw and the sockets of the eye and the nose that that resembled the Neanderthals, but also had components of Homo sapiens, modern human beings. And so they knew that they were mixing with Homo sapiens. They were having children with each other inside the caves and outside the caves. And when you look at Seir the Horite, it's interesting because Seir the Horite, or the land of the Horites, the main guy we hear about first about the Horites is Seir the Horite. And Seir means hairy. It means hairy. It means devil. It means demon, and it means shaggy. And then Kor or Hor means a cave or a hole in a rock or a den. And so the very word Seir the Horite means in Hebrew hairy, shaggy cave dweller. And this is one of the people that we don't see in Genesis 10 as who's the lineage of the Horites. Is it Shem? Is it Japhet? Is it Ham? And it's not there. It's not there at all. So you're wondering, well Esau left the land of Canaan because supposedly the land was beginning to be too small for both of them in their livestock. At least is what the Bible says. And then Esau left and went far away from his brother to the land of the Horites. And there he sort of dispossessed the Horites, but he also intermixed with the Horites and had children. Later, one of those children will be Amalek. And Amalek was, was some of the people that fought against the Israelites supposedly in the Bible. But one of the things that I look at is that when they did a lot of the ancient studies in Israel, the DNA of the skeletons, they didn't see our DNA. They didn't see the DNA of any mixed multitude of people that would have left with Moses. Meaning that if there were people living in the camps in Egypt, and they were Egyptians, they were Cushites, they had women and men, and they were intermarrying with each other, having children. So now you got people that are half Egyptian, half Israelite, half Cushite, half Israelite, half Canaanite, half Israelite, because one of the parents might be an Israelite, one of the parents might be a Canaanite or a Cushite or Egyptian. All of these women of Ham and men of Ham, they have DNA. They have DNA you can test, you can track it, you can prove where it is indigenous to, but you don't see these DNA haplogroups on the route of migration to modern day Israel, like through the Sinai Peninsula or the Saudi Arabia or Jordan and into Israel. You don't see the DNA there. And the question is, we know that people lived and they died when they were in the Exodus. And we know people lived in modern day, or lived in so-called Israel for hundreds to thousands of years, and they died in Israel. And when they died in Israel, either they're going to be buried in caves like Abraham in the patriarchs, or they're going to be just below the earth. So we have to look at these things to ask ourselves, if the Exodus story really happened that way to northeast Israel, why is it that the DNA of our people and also other Hamitic nations, like the daughters of Canaan, the daughters of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, the daughters of Cush, how come it's not there? And why do pretty much all the sub-Saharan African tribes, they always say that they left Egypt and they migrated south along the Nile River? And they usually say that they left with a leader, and the leader had a magic rod, he had a magic staff, he had a magic stick, and he was able to perform miracles with it. And they crossed a body of water on their way to get to where they settled permanently. And this is all across the board, from West Africa to East Africa to Central Africa and to South Africa.
Ron, let me ask you this though. So, I'm grasping that. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is the artifacts that's right there immediately in Israel, the historical buildings and the artifacts of that. Because I see your argument with the animals, all that, and the DNA. But I'm thinking this is our perspective. We're seeing as maybe it's way further than what we think as far as the land mass. So this is why specifically I'm asking, are you saying in that particular area in Israel, period, none of that, even the historical land mass, none of that is originally the promised land of Israel?
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Most of the artifacts, like the Nebuchadnezzar cylinder, like the Cyprus cylinder, like the Pontius Pilate stone,
The
like the
temples.
Lachish release, the Moabite stone, the Amarna tablets. I can just go down the list. All these archaeological finds that they found carved on rock. If you look at it, you'll say, okay, when did they find these things? In the 1800s, when they were exploring into Africa, they were colonizing Africa. And where are they at now? Because they found it in the late 1800s, but where are they at now? They're in a museum. Either they're a museum in Iran, a museum in Iraq, a museum in Egypt, a museum in Britain, a museum in Israel. So how did they get from point A to point B? It's because the white man so-called found it and he took it there. So it means that he was able to transport it with some kind of way to do it from one place to another. And you got to ask yourself, when he got to the scene, how do we know with the relics that he found that he actually found it where he say he found it? Because now it's in the museum now. How did they get to the museum? They got it to the museum. And when you look at these things, you have to ask yourself, I can easily say I found some mummies of Egyptian pharaohs, and I got the tomb, and I got their scepter, and I say, well, now they just say, Ryan, you found it in Ohio, but where's it at now? Oh, it's in my museum in Detroit. Oh, okay, so that you mean you tell me that the ancient Egyptians had kingdoms and they lived in Ohio? And I said, yes, because I found these artifacts in Ohio, but now they're in my museum in Detroit. So who's gonna question the person that found it and then also moved it, and now he has a museum that states this is where I found it at. And this is the whole thing with the Gentiles, is that most of the history we have in terms of if you look at the fall of the second temple, you see that the only person that reports the fall of the second temple and kind of gives you like a play-by-play analysis, like he was right there at the time, with a video camera, is Josephus Flavius.
Right.
If you read his books, the Antiquities, War of the Jews,
Yes.
he is the only person Gentile historian that is giving you a play-by-play a storyline of everything that happened. And you got to ask yourself, Joseph was he there? Like, was he there with like a pen and a paper or ink and animal skins? Did he remember all this from the top of his head and just say, okay, remember everything that happened for 50 years before I die? I'm gonna write it all down. Was he? I mean, because these are things that people have to start to question. But one of the things I like to say is that if we are talking about the land of Canaan, then we had to be specific and identify this land, because we know that the ancient Egyptians got their portion, their land, upper and lower Egypt. We know that the descendants of Cush got their land in Sudan. We know that the descendants of Put got their land in Libya. We know that the descendants of Medes Persia or Madai and the descendants of Ashur and Arphaxad, they got their land. And we have to look at these things. Okay, the Babylonians live here in Iraq. If the Persians live here in modern day Iran, if the Syrians or Armenians live here in modern day Syria, and we say, well, okay, what about Elam? Okay, well, the Elamites lived right here in between Iraq and Iran. They had their own territory. They had their own land. That was not the land of Canaan. The land of Canaan was not Egypt. The land of Canaan was not Put or Libya. The land of Canaan was not Cush or Sudan. So then where is the land of Canaan? Because the Bible says that the Most High will give us the whole land of Canaan, the whole land of Canaan. But we don't like to address that question because we don't want to be caught in a lie or what they think is the truth, but a lie that they can't explain. So what people usually do is that they say, okay, well let's talk about from the Nile to the Euphrates. Okay, we're talking about Nile to the Euphrates that was promised to Abraham and his descendants. Abraham had more descendants than just Israel. But again, where is the land of Canaan? I'm not talking about the land that is the land of the Babylonians, the land of the Assyrians, the land of the Arameans, the land of the Elamite and the Elamite kings, the land of the Egyptians, the land of the Cushites. We have to be specific. The Israelites did not spend hard labor and slavery in the land of Canaan. It was in the land of Egypt. Nobody says that Egypt was the land of Canaan or the land of Cush was also the land of Canaan, because if that's the case, then how could we leave the land of Egypt and go into the land of Canaan when Egypt is Canaan? Because the Nile River cuts through Egypt, the Nile River cuts through Sudan. So you mean to tell me that half the land of Egypt is Canaan, the other half is Egypt, half the land of Sudan is Canaan, the other half is Cush, and the half the land of Babylon or the Babylonians is Canaan, the other half is Babylonians. So when do we draw the line? Because when you look at that whole greater Israel landmark, you'll see that if you encompass the Euphrates River all the way to the Nile, you're basically covering Saudi Arabia, Jordan, you're covering Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, Syria, Babylon, Egypt, Cush, and even Turkey, parts of Turkey, because the Euphrates River starts in Turkey. So now we're talking about another nation now that, this is all the land of Canaan. No, the land of Canaan is specific. People don't want to stay on point with where is the land of Canaan, because that is the land that we inhabited, and we divided the land amongst the 12 tribes, because nobody can tell you the tribe of Judah territory in Simeon is in Egypt or in Sudan, or the tribe of Naphtali and Dan and Ephraim Manasseh is in Babylon, it's in Iraq. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to say, or the tribe of Benjamin and Levi is in Turkey. Nobody has a map today that has the 12 tribes territories from Euphrates to the Nile. Nobody has it. All the 12 tribes territory maps are currently in the modern day state of Israel landmass that we see today.
Wow, praises. All right, Ron. So I got one more, and I'm gonna turn it over to my brother Yashia. You had mentioned the Portuguese confiscating some Hebrew, and I just wanted to know did you have any sources of that? I believe that was in the mountains of Congo that you were speaking about. Did you have any sources of that? Because we studied the Portuguese a lot of the slave trades, and I was just curious because I didn't see it in the video in volume 1 of that, actually the source of them actually in that time period. Do you have anything that we can research on that?
Okay, so we have to understand that when the Portuguese came into Africa, they stole a lot of things, just like the British stole a lot of things in Africa. And if they're going to steal a lot of things that are of religious significance, pointing to the Congo being a place that was a territory of the Israelites, the Portuguese are not going to write this stuff down. They're not going to go into the Congo and say that we saw a temple there and we saw a place that they said the Ark of the Covenant was in there, and they're going to write this stuff down because they don't want you to know that it even existed. And the African people in sub-Saharan Africa, we have to understand that they didn't have just collections of books and libraries that they had all these ancient writings in. And so when we go into Africa and we want to know about the history of Africa, the majority of the time they're going to give you their oral history, and the oral history is from the elders and the kings and the priests and the storytellers. They're not going to have a library and say, go to this village and just go to the library and look it up. Because most of the history we have today, when it comes to Africa, if it's not orally told by the Bantu people, the history is written down by the Gentiles. And this is how they've always done the histories of their explorations into the Congo, into Angola, into East Africa, into West Africa. They're always the one writing down what they found when they explored the land. But the things that are of really high religious significance, they're not going to release these sources or jot this stuff down because they don't want you to know that it even exists. And so the people that live there, that are from there, and they have the elders and the storytellers' history, they will say that according to our elders and our storytellers, that when the Portuguese came here to this land, this is what they found and this is what they took. Even down to the point of how the Congo elders say that they found the Ark of the Covenant in the Congo. And inside the Ark of the Covenant was three things. And when the Catholic Church and their missionaries, and later the soldiers, or whatever you want to call it, when they started to come into the Congo to do more investigation and Christianizing the Congo people, and also looting and instituting slavery, it was around this period of slavery, looting, and colonization of the Congo Empire that the whereabouts and the history of the Ark of the Covenant in the Congo disappeared. So prior to the white man's arrival into the Congo, they had knew where the Ark of the Covenant was, and they talked about it. But after the Europeans came in and they started to enslave the Congo people, they started to Christianize them and insert their Christianized culture into the Congo. They divided up the land. They had the Portuguese and the Belgians claiming their territory, and then the French. This is how they started to change and erase the history that the Congo people had for hundreds of years, that they knew from the elders and the storytellers. But once the dominating Gentile nations came in, then they started to change a lot of these things so that you only can remember these things by talking to some of the elders and the historians and the storytellers. This is why a lot of the people that are currently in Africa right now, that are my age and younger, they don't even know that they're Israelites. They don't even know many of the oral history stories that the elders know that ties them back to the ancient Israelites and how they left Egypt. They just know that in some of the traditions and customs that they keep, when you remind them of the fact that these things you are doing are in the Bible, in the Torah, then they start to say, oh yeah, yeah. Well, we did have a history of our elders telling us that we were descendants of the Israelites, and this is going from people in Eritrea, in Ethiopia, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Togo, in Congo, in Rwanda, Burundi, down to South Africa. They know and heard that they were the Israelites. They know that their traditions and customs are pretty much kind of standard across the board in terms of Bantu people, but they don't understand their connection to the ancient Israelites unless you kind of talk to them and show them in the Bible how what you're doing is in the scripture. And this is how you know that the Europeans came in and they started to erase the heritage of the Israelites. They may not have erased their language or their traditions and customs, but they did erase a lot of the things in regards to history that wasn't written down by the black people that was in that land.
All right. Yashia, I'm going to turn the floor over to you for your questions. And hopefully I can squeeze this last one in at the end. I want to try to give everybody some time. So, Yashia, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Shalom, Ron.
So,
Long time coming, brother. So I get what you saying. I don't even have to come behind him with any questions dealing with that. I'm just gonna wait until you do your presentation. I'm not even on the fence. I'm just trying to get a little bit more clarity about the parameters of the promised land. That's about it with me. I agree with the Africa presence all the way. I've been saying this for a while, but you laid it out, and so I'm just gonna wait on your presentation for that so I can better understand the parameters, because I was explaining to Barry Watt that you over there. I said as soon as he went over there, I said, "Hey, Barry Watt, something getting ready to happen, man. Ron is over there. He done relocated. It's some stuff getting ready to come out." I told him this about what was it? About 18 months, 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, about a couple years ago when he first moved. Yeah,
And I
he
said,
did say that.
This has now we can just research what he put out, because we don't have to go behind him with it. He's gonna do a good job, actually a great job. I got some questions about a few questions about some things in the books. It's just some it'll be real simple. Here's the big one that I had, and I don't know if this it's page 82 of the first book, Hebrews to Negroes. It was stated on page 82 that Jasher was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that there was a it was a Dead Sea Scroll manuscript that exists of Genesis 4:1, which stated about Eve and Samael having some type of carnal relationship, and I was just trying to make sure that I was looking at that right. If it was
So the book of Jubilees was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The book of Jasher is all Greek. It's all It's all a Greek translation. Nobody has the original book of Jasher written in ancient Hebrew that was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So most of the translations of the Dead Sea Scrolls, or the translation of the book of Jasher, is from a Gentile perspective and what they wrote in there, including there's a storyline in there that I think I don't know if it was Zepho. Yeah, it was Zepho, the Edomite. He went to a cave, and in the cave he fought a monster that was half human. Like the upper body was human, the lower body was like an animal. So it's almost like in the book of Yasher, the Zepho fought a minotaur. And we know a minotaur is a Greek folklore, half animal, half man. But this Greek folklore figure is in the book of Yasher. And Zepho fights this thing and he kills it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, there's no such thing as a half man, half horse figure in the world today. I mean, if it is, I need to see a skeleton or something to really prove that it exists. But there's a lot of Greek elements in the book of Yasher, even though it is mentioned in the Bible. But in terms of that storyline, some African tribes believe that there were two women, and out of one of the women, I think they may say her name was Lilith, that came another seed, like an evil seed. And sometimes when we look at the Bible and it tells of the eating of the apple and the serpent beguiling a woman, that some people might equate that the seed of Cain was either marked because of something that that he did, obviously, or the seed of Cain was tampered with genetically by Satan and his fallen angels, and because the seed of Cain was tampered with and marked, he was not a pure human being, and therefore only pure, untempered human beings like the seed of Seth and Noah could be able to survive on the flood, on the boat, and then have their children populate the earth. Although we know that in the Old Testament that giants existed after the flood, and these were six-fingered, six-toed giants that were mighty men, not normal human beings. And we do see that after the flood, according to archaeological testing and finding, that the Homo Neanderthal man existed, and he was a different species of human beings than the majority of the people in the whole world today, aside from people like Europeans and Caucasians and Jews that have anywhere from 5% to 20% Neanderthal DNA in their genome. So a lot of people believe, and even there's I think some mentioned in either the Talmud or some kind of Jewish work that there was a tampering of, or genetic tampering of, the seed of Satan and of Cain and his lineage. And this is why they had this, seed of Cain, the seed of the wicked one, and there's going to be a constant battle between, the seed that Christ came through Seth, through Noah, through Shem, through Abraham, through Judah and David, still to the end with the seed of the serpent, or the seed of the wicked one. So these are all kind of things that people might consider to be biblical folklore, and none of us can actually. I guess it would be hard to prove if there's a true serpent seed with modern scientific testing, other than the fact that maybe there are some characteristics that the seed of Cain will have on them that they will continue for forever. But these are all things that I look at, especially with the seed of Amalek. Amalek was half Horite, half Edomite,
Right.
and we don't know who the Horites were. Were they pre-flood man that survived the flood? Were they descendants of Cain? Were they a hybrid human being? Not necessarily a Nephilim or a giant, but they were a tempered race that the fallen angels genetically manipulated God's creation. And here we have the Neanderthal man that has blue eyes and blonde hair and red hair, and he's hairy and he lives in caves, and he has a different structure, skeletal structure of the skull, and the skeleton is different than a regular human being. So these are all things that sometimes we want to try to explain biblically, but sometimes we can't always explain it when looking at reality in real life.
Great. Wow. Okay. And so I got another question out of the book, then a few more little questions. Page 187, the first book, Hebrews to Negroes. You made mention of the Zagwe or the Zagwe dynasty. And so that had me up all night. Oh my God. It was enticing, let's say. And so I was just wondering if you can refer us to a source, or to go dig into it a little more. Are you going to come out with some more information on it? Because it was real captivating.
You talking about the Zagwe dynasty in Ethiopia, or?
Yes.
Oh man, that was such a long time ago. Well, you have in Ethiopia, they had different dynasties and kingdoms that had their own time where they ruled in power. But ultimately, many of these dynasties, like the Zagwe dynasty and the kingdom of Aksum, even getting closer to the time of the Ethiopian Jews, they all claim a Shemitic origin, not a primarily Cushitic origin. And still to this day, you will see that there's Ethiopians that speak a Shemitic language, and there's Ethiopians that the linguistic experts will say that they speak a Hamitic or a Cushitic language. So that's how we know that in Ethiopia, there were people that were Shemitic that lived and migrated to that area, and they lived amongst the other Hamitic tribes. And it just so happens that the Zagwe dynasty is one of the few dynasties that is connected to, the history of what we'll look at today as the people that today speak the Amharic language and the Ethiopian Ge'ez language, the Ethiopian Jews and the Orthodox Church speak. But that was like 10 years ago that I wrote that book and published it. So a lot of things in there, I had to reread it just to refresh my memory on what I actually talked about in the book.
Well, it was some allegations that they somehow were exiled and that they ended up in the Caribbean. And I was just wondering, and we can do that part later, Ron. I was just wanted to, I wanted to get familiarized with it before, because it was very interesting. And so I'm gonna give you another question. It was on page 76. It stated that the Apostle Mark was a Libyan Jew. So I was just basically source.
Yeah, so during that time, they believed, because in those days they had different names for Libya, but they had cities, and in those cities were attached to the territory that you would call modern day Libya. But we know that the term Libyan Jew is, this is a term because Libya is connected to Ham's son Cush. So we know that Mark was an Israelite, but he may have lived and dwelled in that region of North Africa where you have Libya and then Egypt right next door. And because many people believe that the churches over there were some of the first churches that started Christianity, like the Church of Alexandria in Egypt, you had the Ethiopian church, but many people believe also that out of that area, Northeast Africa, the apostle or disciple Mark was influential in spreading Christianity in that region.
Okay, good. That explains that. So we got a question about this one. This one's kind of page 347. It states that Jacob and Esau were fraternal twins and not identical.
Yeah, so usually identical twins look exactly the same, and
Right.
we know that Jacob and Esau, they have certain characteristics about them that we sort of look at the Bible, ruddy, hairy, like Esau, when their father couldn't see that well, and he could just feel, and then if he felt a hairy coat or hairy garment, then he was like, oh, this is Esau. We know that. So Jacob was different in characteristics than Esau, and if Esau was described as a different maybe shade of brown than Jacob, then we would assume that they were identical twins, because identical twins look exactly alike. That's just in the book. Those are just technicalities. Whether they were identical or fraternal, we do know that two nations or two men or boy childs were in the womb at that time. And technically, when you have two boys, two girls, a boy and girl inside the womb, and the woman has a baby, then those babies are considered twins, whether they're fraternal, they're identical, or not. But we do know. One thing we can't say for sure is that they were twins, but we don't necessarily. I guess we can't necessarily prove it, because we wasn't back then in those times to get a picture of both of them to see, do they look the same? Are they identical in appearance, or are they not identical? So you can have fraternal twins that are boy and girl. They don't look nothing alike, obviously. Or you can have two boys and they don't look alike. And so in that case, they would be fraternal, but they will still be twins.
Okay. Oh, and so Ron, just so I'm fine with oral testimony, if like from over there where you at, because you're over there, and they have retained an awful lot of history in Africa, and I would be willing to say more ancient history than anybody on the planet. So I'm fine with oral history and all of that. But I got this was going to tidy me up. It's just a few questions about a few different tribes over there that I've read about in the past, years and years ago, that have stated that they were Hebrew Israelites, or they were the children of Israel. And you had a great deal of tribes in your writings that I didn't even know was connected to us. So that's why I appreciate your work so much, because it gives us something to research and study. And I found out that just like everything you said it was on point through studying it. The Tutsi, It's one group. I'm just gonna name a few, and then you can just like sum it up. It's because it's a lot. Let me look. The Idak Sahak of Mali. Let me see. Then you got the Mahdi tribe in South Sudan. Kafir, Congo, Bo, Kribo. It's the Bamaliki and the Nande in Cameroon. And I want to move around a little bit. It's some people over in the Senegambia area. I think it's the Silla and the Drame people. Now, the question is, I just want to ask this question. Has any genetic testing been done on any of these people or to link them to us genetically? And are they?
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Are they? Because I know that the Syrian drama people, they have converted religiously to the Muslim teachings. That's not going to change genetically where they come from. But I'm just wondering, are they even aware? Because I know you made mention that it's a lot of people over there that are not aware because of certain extenuating circumstances. But are these people that converted to Islam, the Syrian and the Drama tribe in Senegambia, two of the tribes, are they even aware that they ancient descent is ancient Israel?
Well, you have to spell those tribes in Senegal Gambia because I'm not familiar with those with the name. But if you could spell it, so I can get an idea.
You want me to put it in the chat or just say it live to you?
No, go ahead. You can read it. You can say it to me.
SYLLA.
Hold on. Let me see. SYLLA.
And DRAME.
Is that all one word?
No, it's two different groups. Silla is one tribe and Drama is one group.
Okay, Drama. How you spell the one with a D?
DRAME.
In Senegal?
Yeah, they're in the Senegal area. They migrated. You got a detailed history of their migration, where they came from, and where they ended up in that area. It was near some river. It may have even been the Niger River. It could have been. It's a question. It's like a 10-year question,
right? Those tribes, I'm not familiar with those. And when I look at the spelling, it doesn't give me anything about Senegal.
Is it in the book, Yashia?
Yes.
You mean the Soninke? Okay, so yeah.
No, not the Soninke, Ron. They ain't paid this.
Yeah, the Sila is a branch of the Soninke.
Okay.
The Sila, SYLLA, they're a branch of the Soninke, and the Soninke is like basically the same thing as Mandinka tribe in that area. And yeah, that DNA testing has shown to be E1B1A, and the DNA people may not like to hear and hear me say this, but the tribe of the Tutsis, there's been DNA studies of the Tutsis, and yes, they do have E1B1A, they have B2B, they have E2B or EN75. They also have E1B1B, but the large majority of the Tutsis do have the Bantu DNA E1B1A. It's a known fact. People, they can look different because they're taller, they got slender skulls, but they do have a percentage of the people that do have the same DNA haplogroup as the Hutus or people in the Congo or Tanzania or Kenya or Nigeria. Yeah, and the Mahdi people in South Sudan are a group of people that still exist in Sudan and in other surrounding countries, just like there are people that are in Ethiopia and Eritrea that are Bantu in terms of their DNA, E1B1A. And therefore, if we are calling ourselves Israelites and we have the DNA E1B1A, then they too are Israelites because they have the same DNA as us. So we can't say that Igbos have E1B1A and they're Israelites, and then you have another person in Sudan or in Rwanda and they got E1B1A too, a lot of them, and they're not Israelites because that would make no sense to say that genetically. Genetically, they are connected to the ancient Israelites, whether we like it or not, and whether their appearance looks different than a regular so-called Negro.
Uh, totally agree. I agree with that 100%. Let me see. I'll reserve. I'll wait till the end and give the Wild or Collab. Let's see if they have anything for you. You answered everything that I asked with sufficient exactness so far. Thank you. And if I got anything else at the end, if it's time, I'll try something else. You gotta utilize that computer brain you got while we got you here. I know you get busy.
and real quick, Collab, before you go, y'all. I mean, if you do get some of that information, you can always email it to me, man. And when you got time, I know you be busy. That is a 10-year-old book, and right now to go off the top of your head. But if you could, because we are looking into that, because we want to in the future be able to match our DNA with some of the tribes over there to see, what type of tribe we might come from. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Kalab, you got any questions? Your mic muted, Kalab.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I got just a couple small questions for you, Ron. Nice seeing you again. I saw you down in when you did the presentation down in Florida. And we I got a little bit of information from you from some of the other brothers. I was in contact with Calvin, the brother in Gambia. So I thank you for that too. I got the information for you for that too. So I got just a couple questions, and one or two questions from other people, and my wife had a question as well, which she said hello to as well. She was down there with me. So when you talk about the Bantu people, I just want a better breakdown of who they consist of. Is that the same as the Igbo? Do they fit in there? And what other tribes may fit into the Bantu brush, so to speak?
Yeah, so the majority of all the people that are using the term Bantu in East, South, and Central Africa, they all have the same Y DNA, E1B1A. They all say they left the North or they left Egypt and they migrated down to where they are today. West Africans are not going to use that term Bantu, but they still have the same DNA as the Bantu people. So essentially, the Bantu people, according to the East African, East African, South, and Central, they left Egypt and migrated south to where they are today. The word Bantu this means people, or the people of Yah or God. If you ask a Bantu person, that kind of knows the etymology of the word Bantu and who they are. But essentially, that's just a term that is used a lot in terms of talking about in a group of people that live in sub-Saharan Africa, but they're also uh, related to directly to people in West Africa, like the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Bini, Edo people, the Fan, the Ewe, the Akan, the Ashanti, the Fonte, the Gadangme, and going all the way from the Timne to the Kru to the Creole to the Capelle to the Soso to the Mandinka, the Mande, and all these other tribes like the drum like the Sila and the other Drame tribes that are a branch or a clan of the Soninke Mandinka tribe in Senegal, Gambia. So they all have E1B1A, even the Mossi tribe that's in Burkina Faso, regardless of their religious affiliation with Islam or Christianity, the Bantu people, majority of them all are going to share the same Y-DNA haplogroup E1B1A, which is the most common haplogroup that we see in the Caribbean and in African Americans and Afro Latinos in South America.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. One other question I had was in terms of, and I know because you're over there in the land, in terms of scripture and Bibles, um, do you subscribe to the other Bibles? How often do you rely on them? And even over there in the land, do they? What Bibles are they using over there? I know they got the older Bibles. And have you ever even seen or read or used the older Bibles like the Codex Bibles, like this Codex Sinaiticus and Venaticus, Alexandrius, and all these different Codex Bibles? And your thoughts on the Ethiopian Bible? Reason I asked that because I'm trying to dwell more into the Ethiopian Bible a little bit more myself, and not just rely so heavily upon just the KJV. I know the other Bibles are older and have the other books in them. So if you could just a little bit on that, on your Bible preference and different things like that.
In Africa, they are using the King James version. They're using the Mormon Bible for those that are in the Mormon Church. They're using the Seventh Day Adventist Bible. They're using different Christian Bibles, and in most cases they're in English, and so they're under the same stronghold that we are, in that the Bible that they read is going to have the same translations. It's going to have the Red Sea. It's going to have the unicorn. It's going to have different things that when you read it, it appears to be a white book, and you don't see yourself in the book because a lot of the things in the Bible have been reworded and authorized and translated so that you can't really connect it to you. These ancient Greek words that mean giraffe and other animals, rhinoceros, is not there no more. It's been changed by the Catholic Church to unicorn and antelope and stag, and it's different animals now are appearing in the Bible that didn't appear in the Greek Septuagint. So in the Greek, of course, the New Testament, a lot of it was we had a lot of Greek translations that existed before we had the Latin Vulgate, and then eventually Old English and then English Bible. So these are still the Bibles that they use in Africa. The same teachings that you see in America that the pastors teach is the same teachings that they give in Africa, that leads Christian Africans to believe that they are not the Israelites, that if anything, they are the Gentiles, or they are the sons of Ham. That's the belief that they get from the teachings of the white and black pastors that are teaching out of these same books that we get taught of in America. And in regards to the Ethiopian Bible, any Ethiopian will tell you that if you're reading an Ethiopian Bible in English, then you may not be reading the correct Ethiopian Bible, because they're saying that it's not a lot of Ethiopian Bibles that were directly translated into English. They're saying that there could be some things changed in it, things that are not exactly what we have in our Bible. So they said the best way to see what we have in our Bible is to have somebody that has an Ethiopian Bible written in their language, and then have them read the particular scripture a chapter to you in their language, but they'll translate it into English. And the same thing with the Book of Jubilees. They say that our Book of Jubilees is authentic and it's written in our language, so it's less error that could have been inserted or into our book. But you guys are looking at, in Book of Jubilees PDF on your Google search, or you guys are looking at the Book of Jubilees from a Greek perspective, and not looking at it from the language that we read it in, and how we can translate it into English. And this is how, one time I was talking to a Ethiopian lady, and I asked her in the Book of Jubilees, can you describe the land that Canaan got when they cast the lots for their land? And I said, specifically tell me the part and read to me the part where Canaan got his portion, and what are the boundaries and the landmarks of Canaan's portion. And she read it to me in her language and then translated it. And she says, based on what I'm reading, Ron, it appears that the land of Canaan is south of Sudan, south of Egypt, and it extends all the way down to the tip of South Africa, and then it goes west all the way to the Atlantic Ocean in the part where it crosses over to the Western Hemisphere. So that whole area of Africa along the Atlantic Ocean, where you have the upper and lower half of the Earth, which is separated by the equator. She said, "Oh, this whole land, Ron, according to what I'm reading here, is the land of Canaan." And she says it wouldn't make sense because this land described in the Book of Jubilees in my language is the best land of Africa, because the lands that are in the north of Africa are dry, barren, desert lands. These are lands that experience a lot of famine, a lot of dry, arid, hot, desert-like climates, and even going down into the Sahel. Part of the Sahel region is a dry, desert, barren climate area, even going into northern Sudan and parts of northern Ethiopia. So she did say, "Hey, Ron, this land is the best land. When you really look at it, it's the land that has the most trees and vegetation. It has all types of animals. It has all types of rivers, all
Right.
types of waterfalls, all types of mountains and hills, volcanic and non-volcanic." And yes, this would make a lot of sense, Ron, now that I'm reading it. So we got to understand that a lot of the things we read in America, even online, is not going to be always accurate when going back to say the Semitic Ethiopian versions of their Bible or Book of Jubilees.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. I have another question. This is from somebody else that they wanted me to ask you. Um, Concerning, there's a lot of our brothers and sisters that seem to believe that here in America, because of all the pyramids found and the artifacts and different things, that the land over here is either was the promised land. A lot of them believe that, or somehow very strongly connected in some type of way. Um, and how some of the they say like a lot of the pyramids over here are older than the pyramids over there, and different things like that. Do you have any insight on the America aspect of that?
That just shows you how far gone we are to believe that people actually believe that. And that's we know that the slave trades existed. We know the white man came into Africa, carved it out. He plundered, looted, spoiled. He oppressed the people, and he enslaved the people. Brought us to America. So how could we be taken from the land of Canaan to the land of Canaan? Why would we be taken into captivity to our homeland? if America is the promised land, then if the Israelites' exodus was to whatever promised land that we may think it is, whether it's in Africa or the Middle East, then why would the Gentiles or our enemies, why would they take us to the promised land? Why would they take us to the promised land? To enslave us in the promised land and oppress us in the promised land. So then if that's the case, then according to the scriptures, then if we're going to come back from the place we were carried away captive, like it says in Jeremiah 29:14, or if the remnant of Israel, the house of Israel, the house of Judah are going to come together, meaning the two sticks are going to unite, they're going to be assembled together in the land, all the 12 tribes, like it says in Zephaniah and other scriptures, Isaiah. That means that all those Bantu Africans in Africa right now, they're going to somehow get on boats or planes and they're going to fly to America, because America is the land of Canaan, is Israel. And this also means that according to the battle of Gog and Magog and his army, that all these nations, Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah, Persia, Cush, and Put, all these nations are going to one day come to America like a cloud to cover the land. They're going to say, let us go into the land of unwalled villages, to those that are dwelling without bars nor neither gates, that's dwelling in peace, rest, and safety. This is what it says in Ezekiel 38. So tell me where in America is the land of unwalled villages, people that are living without bars and gates in peace, rest, and security. Where is it at? It's not there. And all these people that say this, these other nations, according to Ezekiel 38, they're coming to spoil and plunder the land of Canaan, or the land of Israel, the livestock, the things acquired that we have gotten in the land of Canaan, aka America, and they're going to take the silver and gold, according to Ezekiel 38. So what silver and gold do we have in livestock and land and possessions that we have in America, because we're the Israelites, that the descendants of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah, Persia, Cush, and Put, they're gonna come and take all these things from us in America. How are they gonna do that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. So we have to really. People are not using critical thinking and logic when you're talking about these things. And none of these, lions and giraffes and zebras and rhinoceroses and ostriches and all these animals that's in the Bible, they're not indigenous to Africa. A lot of these animals are not indigenous to Africa. I mean to America. We see them in the zoos, yes, but these animals are not indigenous to America, because America is not a land that is the indigenous homeland of lions, leopards, cheetahs, jaguars, rhinos, hippos, zebras, giraffes, African buffalo, African wild ox, warthogs, and all hyenas, jackals, all these things that's in the Bible. Your stuff is not it's not in America. So why are they thinking these things that are in America that the Bible clearly tells us when it's not? And to say that Egypt is in wherever state it's in, and the Nile River is the Mississippi River, it's like, come on, like guys, the descendants of Cush. Okay, so is Egypt all of America, or is Egypt the West Coast? And then where's Cush at? It's Cush, Texas, and New Mexico, and Arizona. And then where's the land of Canaan at? Where's the land of Canaan at? It's the land of Canaan from Missouri and North Dakota and the eastern coast and the southern part of America to the Midwest. Where's the land of Canaan at? These are all things that we have to start asking questions, because then we're gonna need to know, okay, if this is the region of America that's the land of Canaan, if this is a region of America that's Egypt, if this is a region of America that's Cush, then where are the Cushites today in America? Where are the Egyptians today in America? And where are the Canaanites in America? Come on, they can't answer these questions. They can't.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. All right. So this, I think I got just one more, just small question.
Yeah, we want to get the wide in there too right after that because we
Yeah.
got 20 minutes left. I mean, 16
Uh,
minutes left.
yeah. It is just simple questions. Have you had your? I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not. But have you had your DNA done? And if not, do you plan on doing that? And how much do you subscribe to that? And the last question, I'll just give it to you now. Uh, I know how they try to suppress your channels and different things a lot. So after you answer the DNA question, if you could just tell us how we can follow you more. I know there's a couple sites that I went to, like Bantu 24, I think it was 24. So I can't remember the exact names of them, but there's a couple sites on YouTube and different things where I catch your videos and stuff like that all the time. But how can, besides H2N network, are there any other ways to follow your information on YouTube or any other platform? So that was it.
So okay, yeah. So when I did my African ancestry, patriarch clan, and matriarch clan, and on my dad's side, the certificate said the Akan people living in Ghana, and on my mother's side, it said the Mende people of Sierra Leone,
Mhm.
and that's all it gave me. I don't know if I requested the haplogroups like L2, L3, or E1B1A or any of that nature. All I know is that that's what it gave me. And so when you look at the Akan people of Ghana, that's the Ashantis and the Fantis, and they're Israelite stock. A lot of the slaves were taken from Ghana to Jamaica to the Americas to the Caribbean islands, and likewise Sierra Leone was a hot spot for slavery. But yeah, but on the website, other than h2ntv.com, I have the Negro Network.com, where I put a lot of the debate details and the links to click on to get the tickets, to register for tickets. Also for the conference I'm doing December the 27th to the 29th in Archdale, North Carolina. We're gonna have the information about that on the website, the Negro Network, and the buttons to register your tickets,
Good.
just like before, like last year. And then the YouTube channel that I have is really small. It's called Hebrews to Negroes Reborn, like reborn, like resurrection, and that's a small channel. I think I have like 3 videos on there. So other than that, I got h2ntv.com, and that's it.
Okay.
I got
All
Instagram,
right.
Twitter, and TikTok.
All
Okay.
right, Dwight, we trying to squeeze you in out. Go ahead, and then we got one more coming up. Sister Nefertali want to ask you a question too. Go
Okay.
ahead, Dwight.
I just got one question. Actually, I had two, but I'm gonna squeeze them in together though. First of all, how you doing, Ron? Glad
Good,
to
good.
finally meet you and get to introduce myself to you. But so I was gonna go back to the geographic thing. I had some questions on the geographics. So with the description of the boundaries of the garden in the Bible, and as far as the descriptions of the boundaries of actually the state of actual Israel, the promised land. And then there was another part that the Bantu is a doctor over there. I can't remember his name, where he talks about some of the archaeological things it was basically they're gonna deal with the Palace of Susa, the hieroglyphs and stuff that you had in some of your books and stuff like that, where it showed the Israelites when we were in captivity and stuff like that. Because I know he was saying it was somewhere in the actual place was somewhere, I want to say around like Zimbabwe or somewhere down that area, like southeastern Africa or something like that. Around
You talking
that
about
area.
Headley? You talking about Headley?
Yeah, Robert Haley.
Robert Headley.
Robert Haley, that's his name. But yeah, so I want to know because I know they said the Susa is basically around what's that in Mesopotamia. So yeah, so what was your thoughts on that?
A lot of stuff that Headley says, in regards to Africa being the land of Canaan, at least in this sub-Saharan Africa, I can agree with that. But some of the other things that he says were biblical locations of Babylon and of Syria and these other areas, like in being in Africa. I kind of disagree with that. The palace of Susa, or the Iranians, Persians, or the Elamites. That's in the region of Mesopotamia in the north. And there's some interesting things that you can find about the Persian kings and some of the gifts that the Israelites, I think, paid tribute to the Persian king, Cyrus and Darius, and what did they give these kings? And I'm going to sort of cover this in my debate and link it to Africa. I mean, sub-Saharan Africa, and the Garden of Eden, in the Book of Jubilees, it says that the Mount Sinai and Mount Zion and the Garden of Eden all face each other, like they're very close to each other in vicinity. And when you look at a lot of the ancient histories of the Bantu people and even the pygmies that are in Central Africa, they all mention the land, well, not the land, but the Garden of Eden, of course, being in Central Africa, or some might say in Tanzania. But then they also, in the same breath, mention that the biblical Mount Sinai and Mount Zion is also in either Central Africa or the African Great Lakes region. And one of the things we know for sure is that the Garden of Eden, you had, of course, you had the river, and then you had the four rivers that sprung forth out of the main river, and one of those rivers are the Nile River, and we know the Nile River is concretely in Africa. Nobody can deny that. And we know that the place that has the most biological, diverse biological and ecosystems in the world, or at least that region that the Bible takes place, is in Africa. It's not in Iraq. The Garden of Eden is not in Iraq. It's not in Iran. It's not in Turkey. So when you look at the satellite images of Africa and you see the densely forested or rainforest area that's green in Central Africa or African Great Lakes, then it makes you realize that it has to be an abundance of water in that area. And the source of the Nile River, many say, is in the Congo region, or the Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda region. And in this region where people say the entrance to the Garden of Eden is that's protected and nobody knows where it's at. In the same vicinity and area, they say that you can actually see, depending on where you look, in which direction, you can see Mount Kilimanjaro, you can see Mount Kenya, you can see Mount Uranzori, and you can see the things that would potentially be the biblical Mount Sinai, the biblical Mount Zion, and then the location and area where the Garden of Eden is at, and the rivers that flow out of it. Now, Euphrates and the Tigris and all these other, rivers. These are always a subject of debate and speculation when you look at, the words and what they mean in Greek or Hebrew. But, in my opinion, I think that, I think Mount Zion in the Garden of Eden is in sub-Saharan Africa. And Headley does mention some things that are true, but then there's a lot of things I've listened to him say that are incorrect. I don't agree with.
Right, Dewad, you good? Dewad,
Huh? I'm gonna
you
let the
good?
sisters go. I was gonna ask one more
Go
thing.
ahead,
Right?
go ahead, go ahead.
Well, it's gonna be real quick though. So you said about the Euphrates and all that type of stuff. So basically, what we're looking at is maybe I understand the English and all that. So basically, the Hebrew. So those basically saying that those aren't the words that are there in the Hebrew.
Well, we see the Gihon and the Pihon, and we see the Hikadel or Hiddick, whatever it's called. It's Hikadel, or I forgot, it's two K's or two D's, and then in the Parath River. But we see in the Bible, we see Euphrates. We don't ever see the word Parath, which was a Hebrew word, I guess. In the Greek is Euphrates. These four rivers sprouted from Eden. But the thing is, how could they all sprout from Eden if we're seeing that the beginning of the Euphrates River is in Turkey and it ends in the Persian Gulf? So how can Eden be in Central Africa, but then also be in Turkey? Because the river doesn't, the Euphrates River doesn't start in the Persian Gulf and flow into Turkey. It doesn't do that. Rivers don't do that. Rivers like the Congo River, flows into the Atlantic Ocean. The Zambezi River flows into the Indian Ocean. You look at the Niger River, it flows into the Atlantic Ocean. And when you look at the Senegal Gambia River, it flows from the highlands inside in the interiors of West Africa into the Atlantic Ocean, over where the Senegal Gambia area is at, going towards America. If you look at the Nile River flows into the Nile Delta, which flows into the Mediterranean Sea. So when we look at the Euphrates River, it flows from Turkey into the Persian Gulf. So the Garden of Eden can't be in Africa and also be in Turkey. It's impossible. So what's the explanation for this? And are we looking at the right Euphrates rivers? Because at some point, the scripture has to prove, or it does say that these four rivers are connected to one body source of water, whether it's above ground or underground. And we can't see it because there's water underneath the ground too. And the water underneath the ground supplies a lot of the water that we see above ground, on the land, and we are seeing with our own eyes. So when we look at the water that's underground and the water that's above ground, there are plenty of rivers, and there are basins. There are water basin territories that they cover, and you can call a watershed region. And a lot of these rivers can be accounted for as potentially being the river Euphrates, or the river Tigris, or the river Pihon or Gihon. And a lot of and sometimes the African tribes in sub-Saharan Africa, they all state that there is uh, proof from what they have learned in their oral history that connects a lot of these rivers, like the Zambezi, the Congo, the Nile, the Niger, the Senegal Gambia River, that connects them all together. And from where they are connected together in the original source of these water bodies, they say it could be the I guess the enigma or the mystery to where the Garden of Eden and the beginning of the branch of the four rivers that in the Bible, make up the Gihon, the Pihon, the Tigris, and the Euphrates in the Bible. So, I don't like to, I know we see what's in our Bible and what we read, which the Gentiles, have full control over the authorization in the translation. They had to translate and authorize based on some knowledge of the original history, whether they took some of it and inserted their own. We don't know the percentages, but we do know that they couldn't make up the whole Bible story out of thin air. Like they just couldn't just create a story without it having some foundation. And the foundation of the Bible is in the history of the Bantu people. The Bantu people live in the area, and they tell of stories that seem to not align with the rivers that we see today as the Euphrates in the Middle East, in the Tigris. They seem to align their stories of these four rivers that sprouted from the Garden of Eden to all being in the continent of Africa. So who are we going to believe? We're going to believe what they say and what we kind of see in reality, or are we going to believe what the Bible says and try to figure out, well, is the Garden of Eden in Turkey or is it in Africa? Because the Tigris and the Euphrates River does not start in Africa. It doesn't even end in Africa, outside of some boundary or coast of Africa. All the major rivers that we see in Africa that I named, they all empty on the coastline of Africa. But the Euphrates and the Tigris River, they all start and they empty outside of Africa. So it's like, what's going on here? Well, who are we going to believe? Because these are all words that they put and we read in our Bible today. The same reason why I think that we read the word Red Sea, but then in the Hebrew it's not Yam Adam, meaning Red Sea. It's not that. Because if it truly was the Red Sea in the Greek Septuagint in the English Bible, then how come in the Hebrew translation it doesn't say Yam Adam? It doesn't say that. It says Yam Suf. And Yam Suf, the Suf means reeds. And then the same thing with the word unicorn. How did the word unicorn get in our Bible? Who put it there? And that is like a slap in the face to our intelligence. That we will actually read the Bible and see multiple verses in the book of Numbers and others that say the word unicorn. And we know there's no unicorn in real life. So what did they change that word to? Before it was called unicorn. So if it was called rhinoceros or monoceros, then we know that rhinoceroses are still living today in Africa. They're indigenous to Africa. And why would a rhino die off in Israel? What would cause a rhino to die off in Israel? And a lion to die off in Israel, or a bear to die off in Israel, or an ostrich to die off in Israel, or a giraffe to die off in Israel, or crocodiles to die off in Israel. So there's a lot of things that we read in our Bible, but these are all some of these things that the Bible that we read today, it's been changed. The Masoretes, the Catholic Church, the Greeks, the Romans, the Edomites, they all have full control of packaging the Bible and giving it to us so that we're confused on where the land of Canaan is, on who we are, and these rivers or Eden is at. We're confused. But one thing that I say is that reading a book and then looking at reality is two different things. Because DNA, they can't change our DNA. The white man can't change the DNA that's in us. And the DNA can be tested. And the bones that they find in Africa and Israel can be tested. And when you look at the animals, they can't change and make new animals. The animals are what they are. You put the word lion and leopard and bear and rhino and giraffe and ostrich and a hyena and a wolf and a jackal and a crocodile and an African ibis and all these birds and animals in the Bible. But one of the things for sure is that these animals, including minerals, are in Africa. The iron that the Bible says the land of Canaan, the stones are iron, and the hills you can dig copper or brass. Copper, tin, iron, silver, and gold, all these things are mined extensively in Africa. Israel is not making tons of money mining copper, tin, zinc, iron, silver, gold, diamonds. They're not doing that because what they're doing is they're coming to Africa and they're getting these diamonds and minerals and precious metals and they're refining it and selling it on the world market. So even the minerals of Israel are not in Israel. So in reality, we see the Bible says silver, gold, iron, copper, tin, blah, blah, blah. But these minerals are not in the ground in Israel. It's not there. So where did it go? Where did the animals go? And how come the DNA of the Bantu people is not in modern day Israel? How come Mount Zion is not a mount? It's not a mountain. It's not a mountain. There's no mountain called. There's no mountain, no high mountain that you can go to Israel and say, "Oh, that's Mount Zion right there." I could tell it's the highest mountain I could see. No, the Mount Zion is just a city. It's not a mountain. It's just an area. So how can it be called Mount Zion if it's not even a mountain, or even the highest of all the mountains? These are things that the Bible says clearly, but we don't see it in reality when we go to Israel. Then it says that Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains, and high mountains at that. The high mountains of Jerusalem. The high mountains of Jerusalem. When you go to Jerusalem and stand there and just turn around in a circle and just look to see if you see any high mountains surrounding Jerusalem, you're gonna say, "Oh, I don't see no mountains," but the Bible says it here. So in reality, we don't see that Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains. So then, is the Bible lying, or did the white man and the people that translated and authorized the Bible, did they forget to change it so that it lines up perfectly with that part of the world, or that they were sloppy and didn't think that hundreds of years later we would check reality and say, "Hey, there's no lions and leopards and rhinos and giraffes in Israel. There's no high mountains in Israel. Mount Zion is not a mountain in Israel. Mount Megiddo is not a mountain in Israel. Mount Olives is not a real mountain in Israel. It's just a location. It's just like going to Johannesburg, and Johannesburg sits on 1,700 feet elevation or meters. So naturally, Johannesburg and a lot of other cities are higher above sea level than, say, like a city like Accra that's along the coast of Ghana or Cape Coast. So naturally, cities that are along the coast of Africa are going to be on a lower sea elevation level, similar to, like Miami, but or even New York City, along the coast, along the coast, the river line. But when you go to areas that are cities that are high sea elevation points, just because Johannesburg is 1,700 meters above sea level does not mean that we call the city of Johannesburg a mountain. It doesn't mean that. In any city that's within Johannesburg, we don't call it a mountain. So when you go to Israel and you look at Mount Olives and you look at Mount Zion, they're not going to show you a mountain. They're going to show you just an area with houses and trees, and just places where people are walking and outside. And you're going to say, well, the Bible says Mount Olives. The Bible says Mount Zion. It says the high mountains of Jerusalem. So show me a mountain like Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Everest, Mount Kenya, Mount Winzori. Show me some mountains, some real mountains with snow on the top that they're so high that they got snow on the top and they got a summit. It's like a peak. They can't do it. It's not there. So we're either going to start accepting reality, or we're just going to accept what we read in our Bible and say, it is what it is. That's what it says. I don't believe the land of Canaan is in sub-Saharan Africa. It's right exactly where it is. And my question, people that say that, is if that's your homeland, the land of your ancestors, then what's stopping you from packing up your bags, getting a plane ticket, and moving there? And if they say, well, the war, they don't want us there. Okay, so then let's just say all the Jews leave Israel. They just all flee Israel because of the war and fighting Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran. Let's just say they all just leave. Now they're gone and the Arabs are there. Will you go then? Will you then go to Israel and land and set up shop and live peacefully amongst the Arabs? Or will you not go? And the majority of people, I think, even if all the Jews left and it was just Arabs hanging around, the African Americans will still not go to Israel and live there. Because I'm going to tell you this, if you go there, you try to live and survive there, you're going to have to use all types of technologies. You're going to have so much imported stuff to survive there, because Israel can't survive without their technologies that they have and their imports. Without imports and their technology, then they would starve, because it's a desert. Israel is basically a desert land. And so no Israelite's going to leave America, like Mississippi or Georgia or any place like that, or Tennessee, and then go to a barren desert land, like the area that Telluride, Dimona, these are barren desert lands. They barely receive any water. So a lot of people that believe these things, they're not actually going to do anything that they believe that they should be doing according to what the scripture says. And if they say that we need to wait on the Most High, then you're essentially waiting on a rapture, or you're waiting on a UFO chariot to come take you out of America.
Oh, praise. All right, Ron. We got one more question, man, because I know we're a little bit over time, and then I need you to give me the place where I can purchase these debates. Sister Naftali, you got a question for Brother Ron?
Hey, Shalom, most high bless to you. Thank you all so much for allowing me to come on to your panel. I kind of came in a little late, had a lot going on, but I'm here. Hey, shalom to you, Ron Dalton. How are you doing?
Shalom, I'm good.
All right. So I really want to have a conversation with you. I was wondering if I can get you on to my channel, because one thing about it is that I'm a teacher of the Canaanites. I actually have a different perspective. I understand that the Canaanites are very important, and I see that you bring out the Canaanites as well, and you have a different perspective on who you believe the Canaanites are as well. So I want to make sure I do understand. So do you say that the Canaanites are the Khoisan, are the Pygmies? Is that correct?
Yeah, so the Canaanites, okay, for the African Pygmies and the Khoisan are genetically related, and you can say they're distant cousins, and they are indigenous to Africa. They were already there before the Bantu people got there, before they migrated south and started to populate South Africa, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Angola, Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya. They were these little black people were already there, living there for thousands and thousands of years. So, when I started researching this, I wanted to know who are these black people, this black race, because they're not the Egyptians, they're not the Cushites, and they're not the Puttites, because people that lived in Africa, these different tribes, they will tell you that we are the descendants of the ancient Cushites, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Puttites, the Libyans. They'll tell you this out of their own mouth, and they're in the northern parts of Africa. But then when you go to the Bantu people, they will tell you, the ones that know, they'll tell you that we are the Israelites. And they'll say that when we left Egypt and went to a land that was going to be more plentiful, large, and sustaining for our people, that we migrated south when we left Egypt with our leader, and the leader was Moses, and we migrated to this region here, which was a land that was plentiful and large enough for us to scatter and to continue to have our children and our descendants. And they always say that we ran into these little black people. And the little black people said that prior to the Bantu people, their arrival into sub-Saharan Africa, that their land also had giants in the land, and that they lived amongst the giants, and the giants, were vicious. And they said that, but the Bantu people, when they came down, the Bantu people were numerous, and they were organized, and they were skilled warriors and fighters, and that they helped them drive out and kill off the giants that were in their land. This is what the Pygmies and the Khoisan are saying. And when you
But I don't want to cut you off because I'm trying to build with you. So my thing is this though, Ron. Okay, so you say the Khoisan or the people that originated in Africa, you say they were the originators. Are you believing in the out of Africa theory? Are you following that?
No, they're not. They're not from the Pygmies are not from out of Africa. They're indigenous to Africa.
They're what?
The Pygmies, they are indigenous to Africa. Their DNA, the Y-DNA B.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The out of Africa theory is that mankind originated in Africa. Is that what you're saying? That that all mankind started in Africa. Is that what you're saying?
No. When I debate this land of Canaan theory, I don't debate or talk about where did Adam and Eve originate from.
No, I'm not talking about Adam and Eve. I'm talking about Noah and Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
So Noah, if we look at the Noah story and we want to know where his boat landed, then either you're going to say his boat landed outside of Africa or inside Africa. But wherever his boat did land, we know that the descendants of Shem and Japheth and Ham, they got their portion of land. And we know that the land of Africa is the land where the Hamites, like the Egyptians and
why is that? How do we know that the land of Africa is Ham?
Well, if they're not the Hamites, then where are the Hamites today?
The Hamites today are located. The Canaanites actually are the so-called Europeans. They are the Hamites. The land of Canaan is Ham. Land of Canaan is where Ham is where the Hamites derive. The Babylonians are Hamites, right?
Okay,
hold on. Let me go further with you. So let me just say this to you. Everybody wants to say Africa is the land of Ham. Africa is not the land of Ham. Africa is actually Arsareth. When we look at Arsareth, the land that mankind never dwelt, we started off in Mount Sinai, traveled down to where Sumer is. So the Sumerians traveled into Babylonia and then traveled all the way through to where we see Canaan. And then, it all goes along. The Bible goes along with history so perfectly. That's why I don't understand why you want to alter it when it goes so perfectly with history. We know that the Babylonians are the ones that pretty much is where we all resided, is with Babylon. And Babylon is right next to Canaan. And we know that the Canaanites stole the land of Israel. And why can't Africa be the land of Shem? Why can't that land be Shemitic land? Why does it have to be Hamitic? Only thing people say is that the land of Ham is hot. And I know right now you're in South Africa and it's not hot there right now, is it? You guys just had a blizzard. Everybody wants to say, I know. I know. It's hot there right now, or is it a blizzard?
No, it's hot. It's hot. Trust me, I went out today to the store. It was like almost 90 degrees today.
But did you guys have a blizzard?
Just because you see that on TV doesn't mean it's actually happening in Johannesburg.
Just because I see it on TV. Okay, well, I know this, that Africa has snow and they have frost.
Hold on a minute.
I'm here. I'm here in Johannesburg.
Hold on, because I see you really want to have a long conversation, and we running into the time. So how about you try to schedule something with Ron so he can come back?
But Barack, I want her to tell me where in Europe is the land of Canaan? Where in Europe is the land of Canaan?
What's the name of Europe come from? Where does the name of
No,
Europe come from?
this is a simple
Oh,
question.
hold
It's a
on.
simple
The name
question.
of Europe actually comes from a Canaanite woman, right?
Okay, but
Europa?
still,
She's Canaanite.
but Natalie, where today in Europe is the land of Canaan? What countries?
Yeah, just
The
answer
land
his
of
question,
Canaan.
sis. Just answer
The
his
land of
question.
Canaan is where it's at. That's where the land of Canaan is where it's at. That's where it's at. It's
But
where
do
we
not
see it
answer the
today is
question.
Canaan.
What countries in Europe today make up the land of Canaan?
I don't say that they make up the land of Canaan. What I'm saying is, hold on, the land that Canaan is where it's residing at. They traveled
Okay.
up to Europe. Hold on, just like we see Noah landed, and then they came down, and then they traveled through Babylon, which is Canaanites. How about this? The Arabs and the Jews, so-called Jews, are Canaanites, right?
Okay. So at least tell me, is it Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Asia Minor, or Scandinavia? What area would you say is the land of Canaan?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Okay, if you can't give me the country, is the land of Canaan Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, or Asia Minor?
Well, we know that Noah landed in Turkey, so we know that the Hittites are actually residing in what we would consider to be Turkey. So we can say that, Tam, where Turkey is.
So Turkey is the land of Canaan.
They might. So Ham is so where Turkey is where we see that the Hittites are right there in Turkey, and then they migrated down, and then they started to go into the land of go all the way through to the land of Egypt within the Mesopotamian region.
No, you're confused. You're saying like stuff. You're saying stuff that doesn't make any sense. No offense. But this who? Okay, well, if the land of Turkey is the land of Canaan, who are the Canaanites today? The white people in Turkey that speak Turkish and Arabic.
Yes. So I know that Barack wants to go, but I actually have some stuff where I can actually show you so you can see it a little better how the migration patterns work. But as you see currently and historically, we see that the Hittites were located within Turkey. And the
No, I know that.
the Indo-European language was established by the Hittites. The language that we currently speak right now is actually came from the Hittites. The Hittite word for water is the English word for water. The Indo-Aryan are the Hittites. That is historically documented and proven. Nobody has a question or a doubt about that. So the thing is that when you talk about the Canaanites were a group of people, the Phoenicians, correct? And the Phoenicians migrated. They didn't just stay in one place, they traveled all around. So the Hamites actually don't have a specific area because they didn't stay where they were designated to stay. They stole the land of the children of Israel. We see that documented in the book of Jasher. We see that they had their land. And guess what? While they were walking to their land, what did Canaan do? He saw the land of Israel and he went and he took that land. So everybody had their land that they were designated to take. However, it says that the land of Shem is in the center of the earth. The only place that's in the center is Africa, right? The land of Africa is in the center, and that's based off of what we see in the book of Jasher. I know you guys want to go with the book of Jasher because you want to say that Ham is hot, and the only place that you can find where Ham is hot is in the book of Jasher. Now, there are places that are hot, right? Over there in Asia, it gets pretty hot over there. And the Asians go back, they actually, when you look at the Sinites, when you research the Sinites, they actually go back to the Asians. They actually tell you that they're the Sinites. It's documented, historically documented, and archaeologically proven. For the Asians,
the Chinese are the Canaanites. They're
yes,
they're
the
a branch of the
Sinites.
Canaanites.
Yes, they are. They tell you this. Google it. I mean, if you want me to, I don't have to Google it. I have the information. Everything I'm saying, you can pull up and verify for yourself. I don't have
In the
time to
land,
come on here and just say
no,
stuff like
no.
you who you come on and you say things out of your emotions, out of your feelings. I come on, I say things that are biblically, historically, and archaeologically proven and documented.
Okay, Naphtali, if the land of Ham is not Africa, then where is the land of Egypt and the land of Cush and the land of Put, since the land of Shem is Africa? So where's the land of Cush, Put, and Mitzrayim, or Egypt?
Just like the land of Canaan, our land that's our land. They came in and they came in and migrated. Hold on, they came in.
You said Turkey, but you said Turkey was Canaan. So where in Europe is Egypt, Cush, and Put?
We don't have Egyptians. We don't have Egypt's land because they didn't go where they were supposed to go. Africa is the land of Shem. What they did was they saw our land and they came in and they migrated within our land and they stole parts of our land. They have their own land. The problem is they didn't want to stay in it. And the thing is that when you tell me, where is the land of Shem then? Where is Shem located?
The land of Shem, the land of the Babylonians, the land of the Assyrians, the land of the Elamites is exactly where we see these structures today in Mesopotamia.
So you're saying to me that the Babylonians are Shemitic?
The Babylonians territory is the territory of our Arphaxad. Our Arphaxad is a son of Shem.
Okay, because the thing is this. We know that from the book of Jasher, it tells you that the land of Shem is in the center of the earth. And so the center of the earth is Africa. Now, when you get over here to these other regions and the Mesopotamian region and all that, that could possibly be where the land of Ham should possibly be at. However, like I said, when you go into who the Canaanites are historically, we see that the Babylonians are actually Amorites. I mean, that's documented as well. Hammurabi was an Amorite. And Hammurabi, the Amorite, is the one that established Babylon. And this is actually historically documented. You can find this in the Real History Encyclopedia as well as the Encyclopedia Britannica. You can find this in accredited sources.
Did the Israelite men have children with Canaanite women?
Of course they did. Yes. Judges 3, it tells us that the Most High. Hold on. In Judges 3, it tells us that the Most High.
Naphtali. I'm not trying to be upset with you, but you're over talking him and ain't letting him ask you nothing. I mean, you coming with information. I respect that, sis, but let him ask you some questions. I mean, you keep telling him hold on.
So she acknowledges that the Israelite men had children with the Canaanite women, and the land of Canaan is Turkey. So if are you saying that the Canaanite women today are the white Arabs we see in Turkey?
Yes, it's the people that are desired today. It's the I don't know if you want to
Naphtali. So then, Naphtali, if that is true, then we should see the maternal DNA of the Turkish women in our DNA on the mother line, the maternal line in Africa, in Africans, in sub-Saharan Africans like Bantu Africans, and in us in the diaspora. But we don't see that these Turkish women have the same maternal DNA that we carry in the diaspora or in sub-Saharan Africa. So scientifically, genetically, that is false.
Well, we can definitely debate that. The thing is this. You brought up the Khoisan. The Khoisan actually have Neanderthal DNA. Okay. The Khoisan have the Neanderthal DNA. So the Khoisan actually were up in Europe. This is facts. So you saying that?
Okay, so wait a minute.
Hold on. You asked me a question. Allow me to, allow me to talk. You talk about the Turks. That's your breakdown. That's the way you view it. The thing is this. When you look at the Turks, and I didn't say that Turkey was the land of Ham, but the Hittites resided there.
No, it is a land of Ham because you said the land of Canaan is Turkey, and Canaan was the son of Ham, so it has to be the land of Ham. Also, See, I got you. I got
No,
you.
you did not. You did not
I
get
got you.
me, because the thing is like I said,
The
the
land of
Turkey.
Canaan, the land of
Hold
Canaan was
on.
part of the land of Ham. And Turkey,
Okay,
and Turkey.
yes, I didn't
Okay.
say that Turkey was the land of Canaan. I told you that the land of Canaan is what the land of Canaan is right now. I keep telling you that. The land that we say is Canaan is the land of Canaan. I have not said that Turkey is the land of Canaan. Let's make sure we get that together. Let me make sure I expound upon that. The
So
land
where's the
that
land
we
of Canaan
say
at?
is
Where's
Canaan,
the land of Canaan at?
I keep
You
is
said Turkey was the land of
Israel. The
Canaan. Now
land of
where's the land?
Israel. The land of Israel is the land of Canaan. The land of Israel that they have today, they're in the land. The Most High said that right now, currently, we're not in our land, right? The Canaanites have stolen our land. They have taken over. The Most High he has given charge over
They
us
stole our
by
land. The Canaanites stole our land. How did wait a minute? It was the land of Canaan. It was the Canaanites' land first. So how did the Canaanites steal our land? When did that happen?
I keep telling you, are you listening to me? I keep telling you in the book of Jasher, right? It tells us that when they were going to their land, the Canaanites saw our land and they stole it. That's documented in the book of
They stole
Jasher.
the land. Okay, so when Canaan was alive, he said, I want the land of Jacob's children.
Pull it up. Are you guys, Barack? Are you familiar with the book of Jasher? Are you familiar with that?
You know how
I want to
I'm
ask
gonna be
Barack.
respectfully. I'm gonna be respectfully. I have Jasher, but we don't subscribe to Jasher. I'm
But then, do you believe that Africa is hot?
I believe the same
Yes,
thing. I believe I'm not.
That's where it
Listen,
comes
that's
from. It
fatality.
comes from
I
Jasher.
agree with you on a lot of stuff, but
I'm sorry, not
I
Jasher. Jubilees.
I
Excuse me.
agree.
Book of
I
Jubilees.
agree with
Excuse me.
Ron as the Canaanites being African, and the historical information for that is through the maternal and the paternal DNA. If we mix the Europeans that much, then the people over in Africa, like he said, using critical thinking, would have a lot of that DNA. They would. It just wouldn't
and
go
we would
away.
look biracial. We would look biracial.
Yeah, it would them go away. You're talking about Ham. We interact with Ham all through the Bible, Sister Nafatali, all through the Bible. We interacted with them. We had sex, had kids with them all through the Bible. So there would be some evidence right now today through the mixture, through the DNA, like he said. We can't get around that. I'm
There
90%. I'm
is
90%
mixtures. There
sub-Saharan
is.
African. My DNA is 90% sub-Saharan African. On my mother's side, it's even higher. And I don't even have over 1% of European blood in me. So I get what you're saying. I would like to see your whole presentation before I just reject it, because I'm the type of person that just don't shoot down information, but I would like to see it. I don't want to make this into a debate. I have Ron already past the time that we agreed with. And I would love for you to do the presentation, or y'all even can debate about it in the future if he wants to. That's okay. But I don't want to keep going into this, sis.
No. It's okay. The thing is that when he asked me the question about, and I misspoke. I didn't mean to say Jasher. I meant to say Jubilees. Jubilees is where we see that Canaan has stole the land. Of course. Okay, right. So you are familiar with that, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So he's not familiar with it, but you are. Thank you. So Canaan stole the land of the Israelites. We've proved that through the book of Jasher. We also proved that the land of Ham is hot through the book. I'm sorry, Jubilees. Why do I keep wanting to say Jasher? We proved that through Jubilees. Excuse me. Now, the land that actually gets the hottest is actually over there in Asia. It gets extremely hot over there. Nobody wants to say that. Now, also with the Sinites actually say that they are the Asians, as well as Europe is actually named after a Canaanite woman, as well as Babylon being Amorite. And we know that the Babylonians, when you look at them historically, they're not as melanated as us.
Have you researched the Sinites in the Dead Sea Scrolls? Just asking.
I've researched the Sinites who actually come out and say they are historically, and they say they're the Sinites. They say that their father was Father Sin. They are named after them, and also we can see who their God is and who they worship. See, the Canaanites worship a deity by the name of Baal, and guess what? Nobody in Africa is worshiping Baal. Who's worshiping this deity? Baal is the god of the Canaanites. Where do you see him being worshipped? Where is this pantheon of gods? Where do their way of worshiping? They're not over here doing all this strange worship. They're not cannibalistic. The word canine comes from Canaanites. The Canaanites were actually people that were very industrial. Okay, they created. They weren't these people that stood in the grass and in the woods and they had huge towers. They built temples. Where is these temples at? Ishtar gate. Where's her gate? Where is her temple? Where is Baal's temple? Where's the ziggurats? Where's all of this? You know, this is a way that they worship. We're not seeing that established within Africa. Now, when you talk about the DNA, the Most High preserved our DNA. He preserved our DNA. That's why we were considered to be undesired. You're talking about 4,000 or 5,000 years here. Of course, the DNA has changed over time. These people have completely, our genetics has been completely, we don't have Neanderthal DNA. We don't have Denisovan DNA. We don't have rhesus monkey gene. We don't have that. It's not African.
All right, so
it's not ours.
I don't want to cut you off, but we're gonna revert back to, because I'm getting ready to let Ron go. Ron, if you want
Ron,
to,
I need to.
if you want to set up a conversation with her on her channel, or even come back on here, it don't matter to me. That's up to you. But I would like to see your presentation as well, Nefertali, because I don't want to just shoot everything down. But the stuff that I researched.
Well, Barack, you haven't seen my information.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. That's why I said I would love to see it.
I come with a lot of history. I come with a lot of archaeological findings as well as the Bible. I'm a strong component of all three. But Ron, I just want to say this to you, Ron. I'm a big, strong follower of yours. I truly appreciate the hard work and dedication that you have brought in. Hebrews to Negroes I love it. I am a strong fan of that. However, when you come to the Canaanites, I have to disagree. And as well as Africa being the land of Ham, it is not. So I would love for us to have this conversation. I have my own channel. I'm Nefertali New School of Thought. You probably seen me a few times. I'm always in the chat. I'm always around. That's me. I'm Nefertali. I'm that New School of Thought. So if you can, Barack, Yashiya, if you guys can get with Ron and see if he can come on to my channel, we can actually have a real conversation.
We'll try to hook it up. We'll try to hook it up for sure. I'm always in contact.
I had a great time. I don't mean to be rude, or combative. I just have a lot to share, and I have a difference of it.
I get it. You got a passion. You got a zeal like me. I love the debate, but I wanted to get Ron on here and get some more information, but I feel with the respect.
I wasn't going to come on because I didn't want to, be rude. But Yashiya hit me up. I was like, you know what? Let me just go on and do it then. Let's just go on. And you don't mind me coming on and talking to Ron, so I'll talk to him. Right. So I see you. It's cool. I don't want to be rude, but I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. Thank you all so much for allowing me on. Shalom, Most High bless.
Shalom, sis. Hey, Ron. So before I let you go, man, first and foremost, I definitely agree with you about the Canaanites, man. I've been researching stuff about that too as well. I've heard people argue on the European stuff. I haven't seen any presentations. The one thing about us, we don't just reject information, but like you said, the DNA is the most important thing, which is the concrete, and using critical thinking. That's not a debate that can hold up. But anyway, because I want to see the Promised Land debate. How can I purchase that for the 6th? It says Sunday, 2:30 Eastern time, right?
Yeah, just go to the negronetwork.com and I can just text you the link.
Text it to me, Ron, because I'm gonna be there for both debates, especially with the brother in Demona too, because I had Sarah on here before, Amadel, the brother from Demona that does the touring and all that. So definitely
the debate on October the 6th, next Sunday, it's not gonna be that long, so I'm gonna have to give like an outline. It's gonna be like an outline debate because 60 minutes, 15, 20, 25.
Oh
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
60 minutes. That's not enough time. I mean, I got so much information
yeah.
to
He
go
probably gonna run out
through.
of information. That's what it is. That's why he wants it so short.
Yeah, that's why. Because he knows I can just keep going and going and going and going and going and
Right.
going, and the amount of evidence that people will see if it was a couple hours would be overwhelming. They will say, well, this guy has provided well and above the amount of proof that we need to start considering what Mr. Dalton is saying. Because at the end of the day, people are just going to come with scripture, and they may come with the artifacts, and they say, oh, the artifacts, you can't deny that, it's in the museum, and the scripture says this, and that's all they got. That's it, they're done. And then it's my turn to roll like the Energizer Bunny and keep going.
Okay. And that was November 6th, 2:30 Eastern time. The other one is November 10th.
No,
12 p.m.
October 6th. October 6th.
October 6th. The other one's November 12th, November 10th.
10th.
November 10th. All right. And we got that. And Ron, we definitely want to have you back again in the future, man. I know you're busy. This is the last question that I always wanted to ask you because I've seen it in the videos. When you seen that Gentile that shared that information with you, man, it sent chills to my body that he stopped you in a restaurant and he asked you about the future with the name Yahweh's name, and he talked about future stuff that's kind of like happening now, like when it's always happened, but it's happening like plethora of these events. How what year that was, and how did you feel about that?
That was like 2015, and he at the time we didn't have ISIS, and we didn't have anything going on in the news, and he just sat in front of me and he said, Russia and China are going to attack America from outside and within. And I said, from within? And he said, yeah. And I said, how are they going to get in from within? And he said, the Mexico U.S. border and the Canadian U.S. border. And he said they're going to infiltrate, and they're going to hit us from both inside and outside. It's going to be a coordinated attack that the United States is not going to know was hitting them. And he said on top of that, he said, basically, from what I gathered, that Muslim Islamic terrorist groups are going to infiltrate America from within, like sleeper cells, through the border, the wide open border they got right now, and the Mexico-U.S. border, and they're going to get in. They're going to start organizing underground like a sleeper cell, and then they're going to switch the green light. And it's going to be chaos. It's going to be complete chaos and fear and panic. And then he also, what he said that the East Coast and West Coast is going to be underwater. And I don't know if he said it's going to be a tsunami or earthquake, but he did talk about that. He talked about Barack Obama is going to be still present, hanging around. He kept saying Barack Obama is not who we think he is. He said look out for him. He said Obama, he's the key. Just keep a lookout on what Obama's doing, where he's at, behind the sidelines, in front of the sidelines. They said that he's the key. And Barack Obama and his wife, they made that movie Leave the World Behind. Right. Made it.
Right.
In the movie you have the White Lion. Yeah, you got the White Lion. You got 1619 on the radio thing. You got Point Comfort, Virginia, which is where the slaves landed. And they showed you either the lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse. Right. And they showed you the satellite image of America, and it was all blackout, and Africa still had lights. So they're letting you know that while Africa is going to have electricity, America is going to be without electricity and the internet. And there's a lot of things in that movie that even the animals in the movie was like telling the people, right, y'all better get out of here. Like the animals are acting strange, and it's like, come on, like you know, and it so happens that the black couple, they left the city and came back to their Airbnb, well, their home in the outskirts, to survive. And everybody gonna have that luxury to leave the city and have a home on the outskirts where they can kind of like hang tight and just live amongst the forest and the deers. So these are things that, although the movie was based in America, he could have easily titled it "Leave America Behind," but he didn't, because these things were not happening across the whole world. It was mainly in America.
Mm-hmm.
So why he made that movie like that, we gotta ask ourselves, why did Barack Obama make that movie for us to watch? And it was a big movie. People were talking about it.
Yeah,
he produced it. He produced the movie. He spent money to make that movie. And I think that they're gonna do another one. And only, to me, it's just a clear warning that the Negroes should pay attention, because the Negroes' symbolism was all in there. The white lion, the 1619.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
Yeah. All the slavery history was little notes and stuff here and there. But Gashia, you got anything else?
No, I don't want to hold Ron up, man. We appreciate this so much.
Sir.
You are seeing, brother, and you a warrior in this for us, man. And we just I believe I'm speaking for everybody, man. We appreciate and love you, man. However, I do want to hear you and Naphtali's discussion further about that, what y'all was talking about. It was getting interesting. We just didn't have the time to hold you over.
She don't want to listen. She don't want to listen. So it's hard to debate somebody that don't want to listen.
Yeah, that type of stuff, you gotta have somebody go where their mic is muted the whole time, and then the other person go. But like I said, just looking at that, I don't want to shoot her information down either. But she got a lot of questions that got to be answered. Like you said, where's the land of Canaan at? You know, and the mixture of the people, because we mix with them heavy. You know, so where they at? You know, where the DNA proof at? That's a lot. That's a lot of argument to that's got to be answered. But anyway, brother Ron, definitely appreciate you, man. Kalab, you got anything last word?
No, just real quick. It was nice seeing you again, Ron. The conference. I was down, the floor. When is the next one again? I think you said the 29th.
December 27th to the 29th. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Where's that at?
North Carolina.
Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem area.
Oh, okay. Winston-Salem. Okay. That's my family union in Winston-Salem. All right. Yeah, I might kill two birds with one stone.
Was Negro Network get more information on that, or?
Yeah, I had the buttons to register and the information on there. This probably Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, and definitely text me that Zoom information for the debate, Ron, please.
Thank you, brother.
Front and center. All right, Dwight, anything else when we let him go?
No, that's it. Just enjoy the company, enjoy the information. That's all.
Yeah, and Ron, I'm going to be reaching out to you because we want to send a collection. The Brothers Incarcerated does not have none of the DVDs. So we're going to I got to get my brother when we combine. We got to donate them through our ministry because they can't just order them. They'll be up in the chaplain and inside the prison system so they can view your DVD. So I'm going to be getting with you, working on that in the future. All right? Okay. All right, my brother. Appreciate you, man, very much, man. And hopefully we can get you back on, man. Shalom. Shalom, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you all for coming.
Shalom.
Shalom.